Hello everybody, today I want to talk to you about Kill Team, Warhammer 40k and boss battles, I guess is what I'm going to call this. This is a redemptor dreadnought. This is the Primaris dreadnought. Where's a Primaris? I can show you some scale. Boom, here we go. Hello friend. Lovely. Obviously I haven't finished painting him, you'll have to excuse me. I don't know if you know this, but I don't like hobbying, so the less the better. Over on my Patreon, you can get access to my Vantage Point podcast for Kill Team. It's a whole whale full of fun. But more importantly, I was talking over there about something that I think is really cool, which is narrative. Now, I know what you're thinking. Glass, you don't like narrative. What are you talking about? Sometimes I do. Yeah. To be clear, I'm not going to be giving you data sheets here. I think it's pretty obvious what some things will be. I'm just going to be discussing, and hopefully it will spark some ideas for you, because I think we've come up with something that I think would be really cool to play. Whether you want to do a big boss battle with one of these guys, or you want to do a one-man army thing with a what's this, a solitaire, whatever. I think I have some pretty good ideas for you. So remember, if you're a subscriber to my channel, I'd like to give you a big double hello. Wow, so wholesome. What an amazing sound and feeling. I know, you're welcome, but hey, if you are not a subscriber, subscriber only. So like, subscribe, leave a comment, and that can be yours in the next video. Boss battles. Let's start with the Redemptor Dreadnought. The reason I want to start here is because I think everybody sees this and says, yeah, that's a boss battle. Cool. How do you balance him? I'm going to keep this guy here because he looks cool. How do you balance a Redemptor Dreadnought? There are, of course, so many ways, and I'm not trying to say this is what GW is going to do. I don't think necessarily GW is even going to actually release a boss battle supplement for Kill Team. I really do feel like Kill Team is being aimed more at tight competitive rules as opposed to, hey, here's some wacky narrative stuff. Because if you want that, you've got 40k, you've got Crusade, you know, you've got Warcry. Go for that stuff. That's the way I view it. Maybe I'm wrong. When I first thought about what could be done, I considered the idea of, and you're probably the same as me. How do you make a single model have enough stats to go up against an entire team? Because when we first saw the compendium, once you go above a single wound in 40k stat sheets, you're looking quite clearly at each wound is 6 wounds in Kill Team. So Custodes, who have 3 wounds, are 18 wounds in Kill Team. Tyrannid Warriors, who are 3 wounds in 40k, are 18 wounds in Kill Team. Cool. So you could just look at a Redemptor, however many wounds they have. I'm going to guess 8. No, probably not. But either way, let's say 10, because that's a number I might actually be able to do maths with. Are we going to give them 60 wounds? Now that's a lot for a single model. And it would be super thematic, but I think it might be too much. Assuming that the goal of your narrative game, your big boss battle, is to actually kill the big boss. If you want killing the big boss to just be a possibility, then you could give it 60 wounds. I think that'd be cool. And maybe what you're actually trying to do is reach something that it is guarding. Yes, you can shoot it, and you could have degrading stat profiles still. So if you get it down, you know, for every 20 wounds, it becomes worse or something. But really the mission is get in, push the button, get out. Something like that. And sure, you can give this gun here, I have no idea what this gun is, by the way. You can give it some crazy number of, you can give it 8 attacks, hitting on 2s, like, you know, whatever. And you could do something insane, like make it 7-10 damage, 5 mortal wounds on the crit, you know, whatever, right? You could do that. But I don't think that's how boss battles should work. Let's start with the most important factor. Because really, as I said, I'm not here to give you a stat sheet. I want to talk about how you make a boss, how you make a single model, a one-man army function in Kill Team against, you know, potentially 10 other models, even if it's as low as 5 because you're taking Marines, or it's as high as 14 because you've got Vet Guard. How do you balance it? My first thought was just give it lots of APL, right? So you've got your Primaris Dreadnought, it's one model, you've got the enemy team, let's just say 10 models. What do? So let's say they're all 2 APL, so they've got 20 APL to work with, so I should make mine 15, right? So you've got a 15 APL model, and of course you just give it the rule, this model has no restrictions to actions it can perform in its activation, right? And like, I don't know, it can perform 4 overwatches instead of 1. You know, something like that. And that was my first thought. But then had a good idea. And I'm just going to take this as my idea. I don't care that somebody else had it. This is now my idea. Change the rules completely. Yes, this is one model, but say actually, this model, the big boss, gets to make an activation every time. So if you have 5 models, this guy is going to get to make 5 activations. Well, actually, it would probably end up being 3 or 4, wouldn't it? Because you'd probably say this always goes second and always finishes last, like in every turn. So let's say you have your 10 vet guard. They always go first, so they always make the first activation. Then you go. Then they activate the second model. Then you go again. They activate the third. You go again. But then you don't get to activate after their last activation. I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to give this guy, I mean, it's a dreadnought, it's a marine, essentially, so 3 APL. Is this guy going to have no restrictions to what he can do? And every turn he's going to move, shoot, dash to every one model they have? No, that would be insane. You know, if this dude's rocking 60 wounds, 3 APL, alternating activations, no. This is a dreadnought. So I reckon he should get 1 APL. You activate, he can move. That's your 1 APL gone. The other guy activates, you can shoot. The next guy activates, you move. That symbolizes the slowness, or represents, sorry, the slowness of a big hulking dreadnought, but still keeps it in the game, and I think keeps it way more balanced than just giving it a very high APL and removing restrictions from what it can perform during its activation. And that sounds super cool. Then you just have to figure out the stats and make it vaguely balanced. I would generally lean towards it being quite the beat stick in melee, because don't forget that even in melee, if it gets charged, it's going to take damage. So you do want it to be kind of, you know, big power claw, one-hit kill stuff. But I'd probably say the ranged, you want it to be high number of shots, you know, really no better than hitting on 3s, and also relatively low damage, because I think that would be quite fun for a, like, thematically. But whatever. Let's talk about something else. Oh, obviously, you could do this for anything. Like, you could do it for any model. Like, you could just do exactly the same, but for High Marshal Helbrecht, whoever you've got lying around. Oh, this beast, you do it for him, right? You can just say, hey, you want to fight Be'lakor? Great. But he's probably, I would say, a touch nimbler than a dreadnought. He might want to be 2 APL on the alternate activation, you know? So he can move dash, because, you know, he's a demon. He's a natural thing. He's not a dreadnought. So I think that's going to be where interesting things occur. You get the little one-man army things, right? What would you do for him? You want to have a very different rule set to this big dude. So he doesn't have as many wounds, does he? What's he going to have? 20. Something like that. You know, maybe 24 tops. Want to represent how fast he is. So, okay, you just give him 4 circle move. You know, that does exist in the game already. It's not too crazy. We have that with Kroot Hounds. I think you still want to have the alternating activations with a single model. I think that's gold, Jerry, gold. But then we just put a few things. He just has a kiss, I think. I think in 40k he actually has a caress, but I've given him a kiss, so ignore that. And that could just be a standard caress. You don't need to change the stats on that. I think he probably has a pistol. He could just have a standard pistol as well. We already know how the flip belt works. We are just working with a basic Harlequin datasheet. We're just modifying a few things, adding some abilities. But this is where we can talk a little bit about a bit of fun, perhaps. So because you have so many things, like obviously, Be'lakor's going to get psychic, right? We have to make up the psychic powers, that's fine. You know what? Be'lakor, he's a demon. We can give him a summon psychic power. Every activation, if he chooses, he can summon a horror or a random demon. And of course, we can then just use the standard demon datasheets. Perhaps, if we're looking at this bad boy right here, Now this is obviously supposed to be a super powerful gun. So what I would say is every time it fires, if you look at the ruling for strafing run from vet guard, what you do is you draw a line of sight from a point to a point, and everything along that line can get hit, or is potentially can get hit. That's exactly what this gun should do, to simulate it firing through heavy cover, you know, through walls. Obviously this one would be super slow. But what I wanted to say about the Solitaire specifically is that because he's fast, he can, instead of going down to 1 APL like the Dreadnought, he could stay at 3 APL. You still get the alternation, so he can, you know, charge, fight, shoot. But also, just like we see in the Pathfinders, the leader there, they can choose to do a Montcar or a Cauillon, which I am terming their feat turn. That's a thing to do with War Machine. You get a feat turn, which is 1 turn, you get to be super cool. Solitaires from the Harlequin Codex in 40k are super, like, they have a similar thing. I can't remember what it is, but they essentially get their own little mini feat turn. So we just bake that into the datasheet, whatever it is. You know, obviously you wanted to interact with the boss rules, the one-man army rules, the big boss battle rules, so maybe it gets to make 2 activations in a row instead, you know, so it skips the enemy activation. Or, you know, for this activation, you gain +1 damage, +1 APL. And Solitaires are all about dying. That's kind of their thing. They've given away their soul and they agree to fight until they die. That's, I think, roughly, you know. So you'd have something that's like, essentially, in death atonement, or only in death does duty end. When this model dies, it can then perform its feat turn again. So you have to be in a situation where you can kill it, but then also, like, survive it getting a double activation again. You could just make these rules up, do it with anyone, right? You've got Abaddon lying around. I don't even know what Abaddon does. I'm just saying you can have cool models that come in and do like one thing and they're awesome. And I think boss battles, 100%. Let's have actually painted models in here, sorry. I think the next time, in like a month's time, probably Patreon only, I'm going to do a battle report that's going to be using these rules. You know, we're going to make up a data sheet for whatever, a Solitaire or Sly Marbo or one of these big guys, and we're going to run it against each other and just see how it plays and just have fun and just be like, oh wow, that was really cool, wasn't it? So if you're interested in that, check out my Patreon. Probably going to do that next month if that's the only thing you're looking for. My question to you guys is, what do you think? Do you have any ideas for a better kind of big boss battle or one-man army type rule? Something better than my alternating activations or modifying hugely of APL so that it works, and anything particularly cool is all I'm asking, so that I can make a cool datasheet to play in a battle report. Don't limit yourself to big models or small models or any faction. If you come up with a really cool idea for a model I don't have, like, I don't know, not a Land Raider, I'd never play one of them, but like the Primaris Gladiator Executioner or whatever, or a Riptide, or probably not a Flyer, to be honest, or a Hive Tyrant, which weirdly I don't have, then let me know, and I will, if I think, oh wow, that's really cool, I'll probably buy it, to be honest, and build it up, and maybe that's what I'll play next month. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed my little complete diversion into the idea of campaign and narrative and not tournament play. This isn't something I normally talk about because, to be entirely honest with you, for the YouTube analytics, people go onto YouTube to listen to competitive play and beginner tips. People that want to do narrative don't need help from YouTubers to have ideas. So this is just a diversion. I'm not going to bring this up again probably. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you're hyped for some hot narrative action. And of course, if you made it to the end of the video, I'd like to give you a big triple hello. Wow. Just for you. Anyway, I hope you've had a good day and continue to have a good day. Goodbye.